So welcome everybody to episode 1 of Numbers Matter. This is a small business success powered podcast. We're powering small business success through clarity with numbers. My co-hosts on this program are Chris Wakehoff, who's a numbers guru at Numbers Matter, and Christy Strau, who's a business coach and creativity consultant, author of several books, including Profit Plan. Tell me, Christy.
Passion, Plan, Profit.
Passion, Plan, Profit. So that's small businesses thrive on the numbers. And so our mission here is kind of helping small businesses to be more successful through clarity with numbers. And I want to ask my two experts here really to illuminate that. Since this is episode 1, it's the reason that we're here. Why do numbers matter, and what difference does it make if you have clarity with your numbers if you're running a small business?
You know, I encounter client situations all the time where someone has a passion project. I talked to an artist last week, or a woman that owns a space in which to create art, and she had a lot of shame and emotion related to not having handled her accounting, in her case at all. And in many cases, clients will come to me where they've not handled it well. And what I always say is that if you have a passion for making, the best widget possible, that's where your passion lies. If your passion was in the numbers, you would be an accountant. Without that clarity, people do tend to feel shame, fear, disorganized, and they will not feel success no matter how much money is coming in.
And I think also sometimes the shame and trauma comes first, which keeps them from taking a look at the numbers. That's been my experience a lot, that people have had trauma around money, especially, and money in business. And particularly if you view yourself as a creative person, maybe you think that thing, I'm too creative to handle money, or I'm too right-brained to handle money. And handling money requires, as Chris knows really well, second grade math. So there's really nobody in business who's too creative to handle money, or too anything, fill in the blank, too stupid, too disorganized, whatever. It's because we've experienced trauma around it. And we think looking at the numbers is going to tell us something that is going to scare us, or maybe break our hearts even. So it's just a lot easier sometimes. And that's why we love Chris. Because you teach us how to look at the numbers without shame or fear. That thing you always say, 1 + 1 = 2 always.
Yeah, 1 + 1 should always equal 2. And I never have judgment related to people's money. If you come to me and you need clarity with your numbers, I am grateful to work with you, because you will get to that clarity and it will be transformative in your life. That clarity comes with the best advice available to make improvements or changes. If you don't follow that advice, I'm not going to judge you for it. I'm not going to judge you in the state in which you come to me. I'm just happy that you're on the path to seek some clarity.
Yeah, and we should throw in that you are speaking as a bookkeeping company, as an accountant who does this professionally for a living. If you want to know more about Chris and his business, it's NM, as in Numbers Matter, nmaab.com. And I'll throw in about myself. I've been a business owner now for 36 years, and I've gotten better over time. And I really see the power of knowing the numbers and pulling back the curtain, if you will. So Christy, you're talking about emotional issues when you talk about trauma, that it's not about the arithmetic. But for me, I do identify as a creative person, and I use a bookkeeper. Not Chris, another bookkeeper, but it's like, for me, that delegation is essential, gets me out of the way. Is that something that you see in your business a lot, Chris, in terms of basically people being willing to empower somebody to help them to get over the hump with numbers?
I think that that's part of an issue. I think what also is an issue is that, especially I would say Intuit in their QuickBooks product spends a lot of money marketing that you can do this yourself. And I've made a lot of money from people who thought they could do their own accounting themselves, and they just create these large, incomprehensible beasts in QuickBooks, for example, that just need a lot of correction. What I also find is that some small business owners, and I recently had a client who, they were very savvy with numbers. They had worked in banking and business consulting, but when it came to their own numbers, they had a lack of clarity. They didn't have sufficient reporting available that if they wanted to sell the business, that they could do so. And I think in that case, it was that the business owner thought that they could do it themselves and either didn't have the time or interest to do that, even though they understood the importance and or the reporting that comes out. So again, it sort of circles back to, if you have a passion for whatever business that you're doing, that business really deserves for you to focus your passion there and have someone else help you with the numbers, because then you would have more clarity. Someone else, impartial third party, is processing information for you so that you can easily digest it, as opposed to you being trapped in a morass of numbers and reconciliations and taxes that keeps your mind off of improving your own business.
Yeah, I want to jump in here for a second and differentiate between looking at your numbers and understanding or taking a class in and mastering the software that it takes to look at your numbers. This is why we need Chris, because doing the software piece of it, mastering QuickBooks, that can be challenging. I mean, not just QuickBooks, any bookkeeping system can be challenging. And that's why, I'm partial to Chris, so, but that's why we as small business people need Chris to take care of the kind of the mechanical stuff. It's not that mechanical, but the software stuff, so that we can look at the numbers simply and not have to worry about, am I a QuickBooks expert or not? Because that's not something I want to spend my time on in my small business. I want to spend my time serving the clients.
And we can step it up a notch and talk about what happens when you don't do it, when you, for emotional reasons or whatever else, kind of sweep the numbers under the carpet. You're flying blind.
Mm-hmm.
We were talking about, I think you had some examples of that, Chris, where you're not able to make informed business decisions because you don't have clarity with the numbers. So the numbers matter in that way, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a client that has a couple of businesses, and we met with them the other day. It has taken, sometimes it's not an easy process depending on the complexity of the businesses that a client might have. It has taken months to get to a point where there is clarity. But now that there is clarity, the client wants to move forward on doing things which really impact the quality of their lives. And by that means that now they've gotten to the point where their tax filings are done on a timely manner, that we've incorporated retirement planning as a way to reduce taxation, that we can look at capital asset expenditures in a realistic and time-effective way to reduce tax liability. And while most clients don't always get to this point, we're going to be doing budgeting for 2022 because their business has a seasonal cash flow impact. And this budget will really allow them to have a little bit more peace and serenity regarding their numbers than what they had before. Because what they were doing before was doing really great in the areas in which they have their business, but they were always responding to one emergency after the other.
This is another reason why you need Chris, is because if the word budget makes you think in the same category as the word diet, that's why we need help around this stuff. It's because budgeting is such a great idea. You can put your money where your heart is and where the profitability of the business is and where you want to serve your clients the most. But it's hard to do that without somebody helping.
This is November as we're recording episode 1 of Numbers Matter, and Thanksgiving is coming up, and we all have discussed a little bit ahead of time, but we want to dig into gratitude, because when you have clarity with numbers and allow the numbers to matter, so to speak, to be part of the mix, I think gratitude gets empowered. So how do you guys view the relationship between gratitude and clarity with numbers?
I have never encountered a client who wasn't super grateful to have clarity as to what was happening on the financial side of their business. I have worked with some of my clients for over 20 years. It's a really long relationship. I'm super grateful for the clients that I have. I'm a bit choosy. And the reason that I'm choosy is because if you aren't the type of client that's going to feel really grateful, and it doesn't necessarily have to be grateful for me, but just grateful for what has been done for you to bring that clarity, so that you can really have the business of your dreams. I've just seen over and over again where people don't feel grateful for the success that they've had because they don't feel successful if their numbers aren't in order. I've got a really successful restaurant client who is behind on all taxation, has no idea what their income is. It's a new client, that's why they don't know yet. And it's very stressful for them. And I know that they're grateful. We had early conversations where they talked about shame. I'm so ashamed about where my numbers are in a nutshell. And I was like, there's no need to feel shame. We're going to get the problem fixed and we're going to move on. And that type of fun challenge, I'm grateful for. The client becomes very grateful that they can focus on their business.
Yeah. If you think about business as, not too woo-woo-y, but that it's a way to serve the people that we love to work with. And
nothing woo-woo about that, I got to throw in.
Yeah.
We're here as business owners to serve, I think.
Yeah, I think we are too. And you can't serve effectively if you don't know what's going on with your numbers. You don't know whether you're serving the right people or they're getting the kind of service that you want to deliver to them. That's why getting clear on your numbers, I guess that the link to gratitude with that is that you can really see, am I being effective? It's the ultimate test or the ultimate evidence, I guess, that shows whether I'm being effective or not in my business.
And people are afraid of those kind of bottom line results. That's the irony of what we're talking about. I love that, you talked about how it's not a matter of being able to add 1 and 1 and get that the result is 2. It's that we're afraid to kind of really face the reality. And when we live in that reality, we can be more grateful for what we do have. And also that's the roadmap and a kind of, like you said, evidence, feedback loop of what's really going on. So this is the kind of information we're going to be talking about in this podcast. We're planning to be with you month to month. In December, we're going to be talking about year-end planning, and Chris has got insights about how having your numbers ready for 2022 can really make a difference and your tax return at the end of the year. So we look forward to seeing you next month, and we'll be seeing you on social media. But what else haven't we covered? Anything else essential about why numbers matter and how people can join us in really kind of celebrating clarity, right?
Yeah, celebrating clarity and to be grateful the path that you're on. And I always encourage clients to come to me in whatever shape they're in. It's very rare that clients come in the shape in which we get them to. So that's, I don't usually like to use the word perfect, but to get them to a perfection state, that's not how most clients come to us. And if you are somewhere on that scale where maybe 0, your numbers are a disaster, to 9, you really know what you're doing, we can work together to improve that in a judgment-free, gratitude-inspiring way. And if you're at a 9, we will strive for 10.
Yes. And the truth will set us free. And I'm not going to say the rest of that sentence.
But there's no shame. I mean, it's like we all have to start where we are. So if you're a small business owner, whether you want to use Chris's services or not, we really want to encourage you to have the clarity, to have the courage to tell the truth about your numbers, because that's going to help you be more successful. There's no question in my mind. I need to know what's going on in order to run my business effectively.
Right. And numbers matter may not be the perfect choice for every client. When I meet with new clients, I always tell them, hey, I talk to some of my clients more than I talk to my own sister because, I've just known them longer. They're in the same town. Not longer than my sister, but I've known them for 20 years. They're located here. We talk quite often. That type of long-term relationship, usually clients will know whether they want to have one with you or not within a couple of meetings. So, interview some people, but try to keep the focus on, what would bring joy to your life and what would you be grateful about. And that's working with someone who helps clarify where your business is and where you want to go.
Great. So Chris is at nmaab.com and Christy Strauch, spelled like you see it on the screen, Strauch, Christy with a Y.com, right? Is that the best URL for you?
Yes. Uh-huh.
And I'm at combridges.com, and we really appreciate your attention. If you have questions about accounting, bookkeeping, small business, running a small business, please contact us on social or Chris through his website. And we'll see you on the next episode of Numbers Matter. Thanks again for listening and watching.
Thank you.
Thank you.